So, after talking about settings in last week's video, we're continuing today with crosshairs. Yep, crosshairs. Quite frankly, I lack the creativity to come up with a witty intro for today's topic, so instead, I'm gonna spend the next 30 seconds or so telling you about Humble Bundle. Humble Bundle is a distributor of digital media where you can buy all kinds of cool stuff, including, of course, video games, ebooks, and more. Besides offering a variety of ever-changing bundles, they also got their Humble monthly subscription, which this month offers Overwatch as their early unlock. So if you ever wanted to get a friend into the game or make a new account yourself, now is your time to do that. For a mere $12, you are going to get Overwatch immediately while waiting for the bundle to unlock later down the month. Every bundle far exceeds its asking price in value, including a variety of different games. There is no commitment required, you can cancel anytime, and every game is yours to keep. I get $10 for every new subscriber that signs up via my affiliate link in the description below, and in common Humble Bundle fashion, every purchase naturally also supports charity. Alright, now let's talk about crosshairs. You'll be forgiven if you consider crosshairs a simple tool that tells you where the middle of your screen is, guiding your shots and making sure you are not blindly poking around in the air until eventually hitting an enemy. But crosshairs are also very much about comfort, and it's important for me to preface the video by saying that, because ultimately, what is the perfect crosshair for you can only be decided by you. However, there are benefits and downsides to certain types of crosshairs, and today I want to show you some of my crosshairs to give you an idea on where to start. I am very notably using different crosshairs for different heroes, and a lot of people ask me in the comment section why I do that. So let's kick things off with the rationale behind making a crosshair in general. A crosshair should fulfill a specific purpose, guiding your aim without interfering with your vision. Being able to find your shots is great, but if you do that at the cost of visibility, then that's gonna be a problem. And typically, if we're talking about more traditional first-person shooters, I'd be using a standard crosshair without messing around with it. And the reason for that is simple, because all I really do is shooting. But Overwatch is obviously a bit different than that, hence me messing around with different types of crosshairs. Let's take my main hero as the first example, Zenyatta. Zenyatta could potentially benefit from a whole host of different crosshairs depending on what kind of player you are. But here's why mine looks the way it does, which is very standard. Zenyatta demands that I pay a lot of attention to my aim, but he's also a very game sense intensive hero, which means that my eyes are going to scan the screen very frequently. In the past, I have messed around with crosshair transparencies to make sure I can still see what is behind my crosshair. But because I'm scanning the screen all the time throughout the match, it is important for me to quickly find the middle again when engaging combat, which for a dive susceptible character can happen at any point in time. So the most important thing for me was to make it impossible to miss, and that's why it's a bit thicker and has a very clear outline. Now, for players who have less than 100 hours on Zenyatta, you could potentially benefit from making the crosshair a bit longer to guide your shots over longer distances. And I have done something like that before as well, but over time, as it kind of becomes second nature, I've adopted a smaller crosshair to not distract me too much from my surroundings. Hearing all these things might finally make some sense into the abomination of a crosshair that I use for D.Va. D.Va, much like Zenyatta, is a very game sense intensive hero. Being aware of what is going on around you, turning quickly, peeling, and DMing for your backline, all these things add to the difficulty of finding the middle of my screen. When I am frantically looking around trying to find that doomfist that I want to DM, then it can happen that I lose sight of my crosshair, and that's why it's so thick and hard to miss. By now, rather than being big and distracting, it has actually become part of my peripheral vision, which means that I have a much easier time tracking my enemies without tunnel visioning on the middle of my screen. And it is also a massive improvement over the basic crosshair for a big reason, because the standard crosshair takes your bullet spread as a guiding point. You see, where it might sound like a great idea to have your crosshair remind you of how far your bullet spread goes, it also very much creates lazy aim. Obviously, the closer to the center you hit the enemies, the more damage you do, rather than hitting them with the uttermost spread of your bullets. And to make sure I don't grow into a habit of tracking with the edge of my crosshair, I made sure that heroes like D.Va and Reaper, who have massive bullet spread, have smaller crosshairs. I also have distinctively different crosshairs for hit scan versus many projectile based heroes. I go for rather small crosshairs on hit scan heroes simply because I want to get into a habit of practicing pinpoint accuracy. Pharah, Junkrat, and Roadhog all share the same crosshair because either their bullet spread or their projectile size makes it so that horizontal aim is less important. When I'm shooting rockets from high up, then I don't have to worry about doing horizontal flicks, so I don't need a visual guide for that. Instead, I want to make sure the enemies are within the vicinity of my projectile hitbox, so the bigger round crosshair helps me predicting the trajectory trajectory of slower moving projectiles. With that said, I really don't play Pharah that much and I'm absolutely awful, so if you are a Pharah main, you probably know better than me what kind of crosshair is more beneficial. And for Junkrat, it honestly just doesn't really matter to me. And I hope that also tells you why Tracer got a standard crosshair rather than a round one, even though she falls into the same bullet spread category as D.Va and Reaper. It's because horizontal aim is much more important on her versus both of the other heroes. So having a visual guide for both horizontal and vertical adjustments is rather helpful. Since I don't play Hanzo regularly, I don't really have a good feel for how to consistently predict the trajectory of his arrows. That's why he got a longer crosshair that helps me making horizontal and vertical adjustments, since I would take most of the difficult shots over long range. And I also really like to turn on the accuracy indicator because it tells you how far you pulled the string of your bow, allowing you to see how much damage your arrow is gonna do at any point in time. So here is a bit of a TLDR, short crosshairs for aim-dependent heroes to get yourself into a habit of practicing pinpoint accuracy. Longer crosshairs for projectile heroes on which you have trouble adjusting your horizontal aim over long distances. Round crosshairs for heroes that don't have a big dependency for horizontal adjustments. Smaller crosshairs for heroes that have a lot of bullet spread but obviously benefit from you hitting all your pellets closer to the center than the weaker ones at the edges. And the rather thick crosshair for game sense intensive heroes that have you scan your screen very frequently to make sure you don't lose it in the middle of the action. And last but certainly not least, heroes that really don't benefit from any of these things, just get a dot or turn it off completely. It really doesn't matter that much, I don't think. But remember my friends, those are just some rough guidelines for the undecided. In an ideal world, I'd love for all of you to take these ideas and go make your own crosshairs depending on what fits your needs. As I said, at the end of the day, it's all about what makes you feel most comfortable, even if it doesn't make sense to other people. Overwatch is home to so many different types of gamers with so many different habits that you most definitely should not take my word as law. So if you got a crosshair that you think is beneficial for your main hero, feel free to tell us about it down in the comment section below. But until then, this is me done for the day as I talk about crosshairs in Overwatch. Thank you everybody so much for watching. Don't forget to drop me a like on your way out if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you want to see more, and don't forget to check out Humble Bundle if you are interested in getting Overwatch on the cheap while supporting both charity and my channel. Thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you all next time.